Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the podcast. Today's conversation is one that goes beyond titles, beyond achievements, and straight into the heart of what it means to truly know yourself. I'm deeply honored to be joined by Veera Bhajan, a transformational coach, speaker, and thought leader whose life is a powerful testimony to resilience, self discovery, and inner truth. Born without arms, Vera has navigated a world that often focuses on limitation, but her journey reveals something far greater, that we are not defined by what we lack, but by who we are and who we choose to become. From pursuing a career in law as a way to prove her worth, to experiencing a profound moment of inner emptiness that led her inward, her story is one of courage, healing, and awakening. And today, Vera uses her voice and her work to guide others back to themselves, helping them move beyond survival, release that need for external validation, and reconnect with their wholeness and truth. Vera, welcome. I'm truly grateful to have you here and to share this space with you today.
Thank you so much, Razia. It's wonderful to be here. It's always a pleasure, an honor
Wonderful.
to engage in conversation. So thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. So, Vera, take us back to your younger self. What did life feel like growing up, and how did you begin to understand your identity in a world that often focused on what you didn't have?
Yeah, sure. I'd start by saying, growing up without arms, of course, my life was very much shaped by what was visibly different about me. So the world often reflected back to me what they saw, um, what I didn't have before I really got the opportunity to understand who I really was. But interestingly, I think my understanding of myself didn't actually begin with lack. It
Mm,
began with adaptation. It's really learning how to navigate a world that, of course, was not designed for me, how to navigate or to do things differently, and how to really find my own way in the world.
mm,
And I think where it became even more complex was internally, because over time, as I think most children would, I began to internalize those perceptions that I was somehow different or less than or flawed in some way. And of course, without even realizing it, that sort of became my life script.
mm,
So I started adapting, not just physically, I think that was the easier part, but mentally and emotionally. Just really shaping my identity and my life around who I needed to be in order to feel a sense of belonging in the world. And that eventually became my persona that I was living from. So my entire journey was really about navigating who I needed to be to survive in this world.
mm.
And then my adult life became a journey of unlearning all of that, all of those internalized beliefs, disidentifying with them, and then slowly rediscovering who I am, beyond all of that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And in your early 30s, you experienced a deep moment of inner emptiness. Can you walk us through what that season looked like for you?
Yeah, that was really a turning point for me. So on the outside, of course, I would have spent all of my life, my teenage years, my 20s, uh, achieving, uh, proving, surviving. So I had achieved things. I had became an attorney at law, and I was doing, I think, what many would consider a success, quote unquote.
Mm,
It was only in my 30s that I discovered that there was this quiet emptiness inside of me that I couldn't ignore. That
mm,
was just getting louder and louder with each passing day. And recognizing that I had built a life that looked right, but didn't always feel right or feel aligned. So internally, it felt like everything was crumbling and falling apart. There was this deep void that I simply couldn't ignore anymore. A sense of emptiness that made me question everything, like
mm,
who I was, question the life that I had built, and whether any of it really felt like me or true to me. So
Wow.
that season was quite uncomfortable and painful and revealing and just so deeply honest, where I really asked myself much deeper questions, like who am I beyond what I had to overcome, you know? Who I am beyond or without these roles
Title.
and
Yeah.
yeah, titles and what actually feels true to me. It's almost like I had lost uh, who I was beneath all of that. And I think that took me inward
Wow.
to
Wow.
myself. Yeah.
Wow. And at that time, did rely or, lean on someone in your home or your family member or friend when you felt like that?
Yeah, of course. So yeah. So I had like I've always had a very strong support system. So even in those moments of breaking and of pain, of course,
Yeah.
I had support of my family and very thankfully, like the I was sent the right people, the right resources, the right friends, the right gurus, the right
Yeah.
teachers that brought me to the place I am now, you know?
Amazing. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Wow. So you have done a lot of inner work and just listening to you. You have done your therapy, your yoga, and your meditation. What was one of the hardest truths you had to face about yourself during that process?
Yeah. There's so many.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so many. But I'd say I think one of the hardest truths would be that I had learned how to function very well in the world, but I had not allowed myself to feel or to truly be. I think therapy brought me to this difficult truth that there was this wounded younger part of me that I had not met, that I had not acknowledged, that I had abandoned. And even deeper than that, that there was a sense that I had forgotten who I was and why I was here. You know, and I could feel like there was more within me, more than achieving or being an attorney or potential that I had not accessed or tapped into. And I think that was most confronting. It was confronting, but also called me forward at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because one voice is saying, there's nothing to do. You'll never be this person. But then you're hearing this powerful voice saying, I can do it. And I think that
Yeah.
is what carried you through.
Yeah. Yeah. Most
Wow,
definitely.
amazing. Amazing. Many women are constantly performing to feel accepted. How do we begin to recognize when we are living for validation instead of truth?
I think many of us as women, we don't even realize that we're performing because it's been normalized.
Yes. Yep.
Um, so it took me so many years to even realize that this was my life was a whole performance as opposed to a life of of truth.
Yes. Yes.
I think for me a simple place was beginning to ask like if no one was really looking on or watching, would I still choose this? You know, or am I doing this for approval or for a sense of belonging or to prove anything, or am I really doing this because it feels true to me?
Yes, to you. Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Or even simple as how does it feel in my body? You know, does this feel this part feels expansive or does it feel contracted? So just these simple questions made me realize the difference between living like for validation instead of for truth. You know,
Correct.
if I wasn't afraid of disappointing anyone, would I really
Yes.
choose this?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
like
Correct.
like yeah, and I think just realizing that performance it often comes from you feel the sense of pressure and tension
And
and
it's
this need to
exhausting.
yes, correct.
Yes.
Yeah, constantly exhausted. Like it's never enough, you know.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
Whereas when you live from truth, it feels just a lot quieter
Oh,
and a lot calmer. It
yes.
feels a lot more grounded.
Yes.
Maybe a bit more uncomfortable, yes,
Yes.
but definitely a sense of
Peace.
quietness.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, social media has made that what everybody is performing, especially on TikTok. Everybody's doing something to be
yeah,
accepted. And if it is you don't get likes or followers or you get a bad comment, persons are home struggling with themselves because they
of course.
want to feel that, validation. But
Yeah,
when
they
you,
rely so heavily on, yeah,
yes, yes, and but correctly what you said, when we, start living from what we love and we don't care what the world says, that is where the peace comes in.
yeah, yeah, because I'm already filled up inside, like
Yes,
if I'm I've fully accepted who I am, I'm able to have that sense of self-acceptance, and it's
correct.
quite okay if it's I'm not accepted on the outside.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
I think a lot of persons have to learn that if it is someone says something bad about you, it really doesn't matter because you know who you are. And
yeah,
that is what
yeah,
matters most. And I think if we
yeah.
could live like you, we would be much happier. You think so?
Uh, we would be, yeah,
We'd be so much
yeah,
happier to live because we know who we are. We know our truths. We know our identity. We don't wait on the world to tell us that we are this person
yeah,
and that person. So, yes, I'm
yeah,
just looking at you. I can see the peace in your face.
oh,
It's
oh,
amazing.
thank you.
Yes, yes. So, you speak about reconnecting with your true self beyond labels. How can someone begin that journey if they spend years identifying with their roles, titles, or even their pain?
Yeah, I think, well, identifying with roles and pains and titles have been like my status quo for years. I think for me, it began with creating space between you and the labels, or creating space between you and the emotions, or the pain, or the titles. Uh, so instead of I am this role, so I am an attorney, I am armless, or I am sadness, or I am fear. I slowly began to observe, okay, this is something that I'm experiencing. This is an emotion that is moving through me, or this is a position that I hold, or this is a body, an armless body that I carry, but it's not all of who I am, or who I
Yes,
am at all.
yes.
It's
Correct,
yeah, it's not a representation of who I truly am, but I would have
correct,
spent so much of my life identifying with that and holding on so tightly to that, because outside of that, I didn't know who I was, you know.
correct.
And when I started creating space between that person who can witness and observe uh, what was happening within me and around me, I think that space created all the difference. So, and that space came with a lot of practices, like as I shared before, yoga, meditation,
Yes,
where practices that invite stillness and reflection, and give space for you to really slow down the pace of your life to see what really matters, and
yes.
to actually hear yourself again,
Mm.
so that your true self isn't something that you're necessarily creating, but it's something that you slowly begin to uncover when all of those titles and roles start to fade away, and like the
Yes,
noise quiets, and you're able to really hear yourself.
yes. I guess that question is like, who are you beyond everything else? Some
Yeah.
places you ask them, who are you? Well, I'm this person, but remove
Yes.
everything. Then who are you
Yes.
really? Then sometimes they can't
Yes.
answer. And
Yeah.
that's when
I know I couldn't answer. I
yes,
definitely couldn't answer, like, who am I without, being arms, without being armless, or who am I without this pain or this sadness? I couldn't answer.
yeah. And that is the moment when you realize that things needed to change.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
was profound. Yeah.
yes, I also experienced that as well. And for me, I cried so
It
much when I
was,
realized that I was dependent on this and that because I wanted the world to see me as this coach. But after all of that, I believe that I'm just a beautiful light and that's all that matters. That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Requires that level of grief, I think.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
does. Especially
Yeah.
when, sometimes our family members, like person's family members is they want you to be this particular person. And if it is that, you're not that. So sometimes even your parents or your family members can keep singing that title. So all you know is this, I have to be this person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
Yeah.
course. Even as children, right, we tend to experience that as well. Where
Yes,
we're already sometimes we're already given roles and titles even as children, and we believe we
correct.
have to take on that in
Mm,
order to keep that connection with our parents.
yes, correct, correct. You know, you have spoken about returning home to yourself, and I just love that. Return home to yourself. What does that actually look like daily, especially in moments when life feels overwhelming?
Yeah, I like that you say daily, because it really is a daily
Yeah.
move. consistent practice. I
Correct.
think for many of us, we think it's like a one-time moment, or it's like, just like flipping a switch and
Yeah.
everything shifts.
Yeah.
But when you are a stranger to yourself and when you have created homes outside of yourself, it takes consistent, dedicated practice to
Return.
bring that, yeah, to bring that power back to yourself and to
Yeah.
return to that safe space within yourself, as opposed to seeking it outside of you. And sometimes it just looks like, pausing when you feel overwhelmed instead
Yeah.
of pushing through or
Yes.
listening to what you actually need in that moment, but really
Correct.
coming back to yourself and bringing attention to how you feel in your own body and what's happening in your breath in that moment. Uh, yeah, what's happening in your mental space. Just really bringing attention back to yourself, like grounding, breathing, and just stepping away from it all and asking what's is present for me right now without trying to escape it, or run away from it, but learning to be with yourself in a way that is so compassionate and understanding. What we tend to give to others, it's really ideally
Yeah.
now giving it to ourselves and creating such a safe space within ourselves. Not that we no longer need others, because of course we do as
Yeah.
humans, but just not being so reliant on the external sources for that space of safety and
Yes.
home.
I love that, because I think as society, a lot of people are not connected to themselves. Everything is, they have to get there. Some people don't even go home. They feel,
Yeah,
especially when so much stress is happening, they tend to just lean on this. But when they actually sit with themselves, they realize that they don't like what they are hearing. They don't like how they're
yes,
feeling, and then they run again.
yeah, of
know?
course.
And I think that
Yes,
maybe we can be a better nation if it is we take what you just said there. We sit with ourselves and learn to understand ourselves. We'll become healed people, and then we'll be a better society. What do you think about that?
yeah, yeah, most definitely. Because
Definitely.
we don't realize we are with ourselves throughout our lives. So and
Correct.
and we are a stranger to ourselves. And when I recognize that, that was insane to me that I was such a stranger to myself and to my own emotions and just wow, it was really
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Then I'm sure because when you understand that this is your home, you start to love you better. Yes.
Of course, yeah, yeah. You show up in the world with that sense of love and compassion.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and that sense of alignment and groundness within yourself.
Correct, correct. I love that so much. And it is important to be aligned in this time because there's so many things around us could bombard us and change. Some people they change emotions so quickly, angry,
Yeah,
angry. But when
yeah,
you come home to yourself, you realize that things are happening around you, but it would not hurt you. It may not make you feel angry because you understand that you are at peace within
yeah.
yourself.
Mhm.
Amazing. That sounds so amazing. So tell me. What is one thing people assume about you that isn't true? Hmm.
I would say that I think quite often people assume that I'm always strong and resilient. I think that's something I've heard so many times
Mm-hmm.
in my life. In fact, most people who approach me would use those words. So it's almost like I'm seen as this strong, resilient person on most days. Uh, I think I did, of course, throughout my life, show up with a sense of strength, but it's almost like I mean, I didn't really have a choice.
Yes.
You know? But now I think my journey hasn't been about constant strength, but it's really about learning how to be honest and how to feel and how to allow vulnerability,
Yeah.
which is a different type of strength, yes. But I think strength now for me also involves and includes softness. Just really learning how to be soft and not show up
All the time.
on or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, strong all the
All the
time.
time.
Yeah, I think that was major for me in my journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel you because I feel the same way as well. Sometimes I just want the world to say that, I'm just Leslie. I'm not all
Yeah.
of what you think. It's
Yeah.
okay for me to make
So,
mistakes or cry sometimes, but showing that vulnerability, people look at you weird and say, so it's about understanding that we are also, soft as well. And it's okay for us
And
to,
it's okay to
yeah,
feel and to be vulnerable. Yeah,
yes,
of course.
that's it. That's such an amazing message for, those women and men who are doing incredible things, but they don't feel, that they should put down their hats. So it's quite okay. Love that.
Yes.
So tell me,
Mhm.
for the woman listening who feels, broken, unseen, or disconnected from herself, what would you say to her right now in this moment?
Yeah, I'd say if you feel broken, don't be in any rush to fix it. In
Ooh,
fact, I don't believe there's anything to be fixed
I
per
love that.
se. Yeah, I think many times we show up, and I think a lot of clients show up during my sessions as well, with the sense that, or this feeling that they are broken and they need to be fixed. I think it's more of a disconnection that we feel, and that disconnection is something that could be, it could become the portal, the very portal to your power, to your truth, to your calling, and to relationships that can meet you there.
Mm,
And many times it may feel like we're falling apart, but it's really we're being revealed and we're
correct,
being pushed forward, and something deeper is trying to emerge from within
correct,
us.
correct.
Yeah, so I think what we're feeling is not so much brokenness, but it's disconnection, and that could be healed. That you can rewire, you can recalibrate, you can change, you can shift, you can transform. You're certainly not alone,
Yes.
because so many of us are there on that journey with you. You're not behind or late, and and even if we can't feel it right now, because I know it's very difficult to feel that sense of wholeness when we are so consumed by our disconnection or brokenness, but I've learned that there is a part of me that is so whole and steady and complete and untouched by trauma or my disability or being broken or any tough emotion. Just a part of me that has always been so whole and steady and complete that is simply waiting for me to return.
Mhm.
Yes, I'd say there's really no fixing, but really just beginning to listen to yourself and slowly return to that space of wholeness within.
Mm, I love that. And it's okay to sit with it, which is the worst part, but it feels
Yeah,
very
yeah.
uncomfortable, but it's okay to sit with it. I had to learn that as well. Because, sometimes we just want to, you correctly say, we want to rush out of it. We want to remove that feeling
Yeah.
immediately.
We want to rush to fix it because we have not learned how
Yes.
to be with that sense of discomfort. Because, many times no one taught us how to be with it. No one taught us how to be with our sadness. It's almost like it was not okay to
Yes.
be. Yeah. So
Yes.
when it arises in adulthood, it's like I can't cope with this because nobody taught me how to.
Hmm. Correct.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just really
So,
finding spaces that where you
yeah.
can now live that, safe spaces.
Yes, such a powerful. I could talk with you all day. This is such a powerful, session. And you're talking, and I am just feeling your aura. It's amazing. Yes, Vera, I just want to take a moment to truly honor you. Thank you for your courage, and this depth of story is such a powerful one. And the way you've turned your journey into something that now helps others heal and, reconnect and align themselves. This is truly powerful. I just want to speak continued growth and peace and expansion over your life and everything that you're doing. May everything you pour into others return to you in abundance. And may your voice continue to reach the people who need it the most. And may your work continue to transform lives across the world because we need you. We need this. We are so grateful for you. And I'm just wishing you nothing but success, fulfillment, and alignment. And as we come to the end of this conversation, I just want to take a moment to let everything we shared truly settle in because you said a lot. And I just want everyone to continue playing over this podcast. Just keep playing it over because she said so many things. Vera, you said a lot. And some people may rush just this podcast, but they really need to pause and write down what you said and then book a session with you. What you think?
Thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Yes.
allowing the space and creating this space where we can explore and we can engage in conversation, and
Yes.
it would reach those who really need it in those
Yes.
moments. I think
Yes.
it's amazing work, and yeah, we appreciate you, and I wish you so many great blessings as well on
Yes.
your journey. Thank you
Thank you
so much
so
for
much.
having me. for
Thank you
doing
so
this.
much. Yes. And to the woman listening, the one who feels unseen, disconnected, or unsure of who she is right now, this is your invitation. Just what Vera said, to come back home to yourself. I think that is such an amazing and a powerful statement that she said. You don't have to strive to become more or just try to rush to be accepted. You don't have to prove your words. Everything you're searching for is already exists within you. So take your time, be gentle with yourself, and trust that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. And I definitely want to book a session with Vera.
Thank you so much. It was lovely.
I just want to come and sit with you because, as I said before, you have a very big aura light. You know, Until
Yes,
next time, keep becoming, keep returning to yourself, and never forget there is room for you. Thank you so, so, so much.
most welcome. Take care. Best wishes.